Okay, so thank you very much for joining me for Course Creation Made Easy. I'm really glad that you were able to get here in spite of the glitches I was mentioning earlier. So my name is Stephanie O'Brien, the Coaching Program Design Specialist. And I've had a lot of experience with both designing courses and going through them, and I know what it's like to stare at a blank screen, feeling frustrated because you've got all this knowledge in your head, but getting it out there onto the screen in an organized fashion, that can be a lot more difficult. Now, I've been a writer most of my life. I actually published my first full novel at the age of 12. Since then, I've gone on to write 14 novels, 4 of which I thought were good enough to self-publish. And I've published 2 nonfiction books, including the book 1 Month Program Builder. So I've got a lot of experience with taking a lot of information and organizing it into a coherent flow. How I got into doing this with coaches is Mom actually got into life coaching and I followed her into it. And before then, we'd been dealing a lot with people who had more of a take what you can, give nothing back attitude. So after I started working with coaches and seeing how coaches were focused on being their best selves, living their best life, helping other people to do the same, I was just blown away by what amazing people I was meeting and by the incredible impact they were having on the world. So I wanted to be part of that mission. I wanted to help more coaches to serve more people. And as somebody who's since been the client of several coaches, I wanted to help more people to get the benefits of coaching because I've had my life changed in several different ways by working with various coaches. And so I wanted more people to be able to live their best life by working with coaches. So that's why I now help coaches to turn their expertise into a group coaching program that enables them to make more sales, make more money, and serve more people and change more lives, all in the same amount of time or less that they were spending on their business before. So without further ado, let's get into the process of turning your expertise into a group coaching program. So the first thing you'll do is take a list of all the steps your clients will go through in the order in which you'll go through them. So to take an example from my own work, start by choosing a topic, then decide what top information to include in the program and organize it, and fleshing out the information into easy to follow instructions that the clients can easily follow, or easily can follow from where they are to where they want to be, tongue tripping there. Motivating the clients to actually consume and apply those instructions, and helping the clients to understand when and how to use those instructions. So those are 5 steps I'd list from my own work. Or if you were a relationship coach who is teaching men how to meet and marry the woman of their dreams, some of the steps you might write out might be how to figure out what kind of woman you want to meet, how to figure out where those women hang out so you can actually meet them, how to approach those women in that setting so you don't come across as pushy or predatory or make them nervous, how to have a good conversation, how to have a good first date. So just list out all the different steps that your clients would go through in the process of going from where they are to getting the results that you create for them. So I'm going to give you a little bit. Once you've got those steps written down, you can write down the steps later, but for now, I hope you got a clear idea of what this first step is. The next step is to take a look at the first step you wrote. Now, let's actually take a moment here. If you want to grab a text processor and go through this exercise right now to just get an idea of how it works, I want you to just take a moment to grab a text processor and write down the first few steps, just to get a feel for this exercise. You can use a notebook if you want, but text processor is generally better just because it allows you to use the stuff more, to use your notes more fluidly, to add additional notes in between them. So what's step 1 in your process? It's the first thing that your client would have to do in order to go from the situation they're in to the situation they want to be in. And what's the second step? So I want you to just write these down really briefly. You don't have to go into great depth on it, just a few words. What is the next step they take? Then the third step. So once you've gotten that written down, I'm going to use one of the steps in your process to illustrate the second step. So once you've written down your steps, look at the first step you wrote and then break down into the specific actions a person needs to do to complete that step. So for my own topic, I would use the first step in my process, choosing a topic. That's the first thing you need to do when you're creating a course. So the first thing you'll need to do when choosing a topic, you determine which topics you have expertise in, what do you have to choose from, and then narrow it down. Which topics do you know enough to create results in? Which of those topics do your clients actually want? I encourage you to just take a minute or so to do that with your own first step. Just really briefly write down what are the steps that a person would need to take in order to take that first step. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds or so to do that.
That's a tough one.
Well, you know what? You're the only one here for now. Why don't we just take a minute and do some coaching on that right now? So, what is your second step?
The second step
Yeah,
is to declutter.
declutter. Okay, so if a person was going to declutter, what would be the first step to do that?
So first they have to identify what kind of clutter they have. Is it identity clutter? Is it's because items don't have a home? You know, what kind of clutter do you have? Is it like a future you? Like I want to start working out, so I'm going to buy a treadmill, and then it sits there for a year just collecting stuff. So first you need to identify what kind of clutter you have, and then take the steps to declutter. And you know, so sometimes it's hard for people to get beyond that. Like I'm in the middle of doing a challenge, and it was taking a box that you haven't opened in a year or more and go through it. Well, I had one that I've had for 13 years since we've been here, and it was full of identity clutter. And, I mean, my kids are all grown up right now, and it was like I had a pacifier on a pacifier holder from one of my sons, baby shoes, just stuff from when they were young. You know, it's like, why did I keep this stuff? Why do I have this stuff? You know, and identity clutter can be hard for people to get rid of.
Oh yeah, because it can be so sentimental. So I guess in this case, their steps could be, maybe breaking down the house into rooms, and then breaking down those rooms. Step one could be break down the house into rooms. Step two could be break down those rooms into specific spots they need to declutter, and that way it feels less mentally overwhelming. Step three could be maybe category or choosing one of those items and categorizing it into to keep and not to keep. Step four could be maybe choosing spots to put the stuff, or maybe one of the steps could be choose an interim spot for the stuff you're still figuring out. So you've got the to keep, the not to keep, and the question mark. Am I keeping this or am I not?
Well, in that case, I tell them to put it in a box, seal the box up, mark a date on it for like a month or two. And if during that period you have not opened up that box, it goes.
And maybe another step could be identifying charities that could maybe receive some of the stuff that's in good working order.
I like that one, especially when it profits somebody else and not like there's certain places I won't donate to, but like women's centers, shelters, books given to the prisons. There's just so many places where they can get good use.
And it occurs to me another possible step you could add in is identify the things that stall you. And while they're in the process of going through these boxes, identify any thoughts they have that stall them. Like, I shouldn't get rid of this; it's in perfectly good working order. And the solution to that thought could be give it to somebody else. Or I can't get rid of this; I might want it later. Then that you've got that exercise, put it back in the box, see if they haven't opened it in a month. Or just identifying those thoughts or identifying those mental hangups, and then coming up with solutions to them could be another step in your process.
Right.
So yeah, and now even just that first step, identifying clutter, you've got several different steps that they can take, like breaking it down by room, breaking it down by item to clear off, like an end table or a box, itemizing, the steps to declutter, like having an interim space for things that they aren't sure if they're going to keep. So even just that one step in your process can become several different steps. So, and from there, you might need to take it to a third step. If some of your steps have a risk that people could look at them and go, okay, I get that I need to do that, but how do I do it? Or I get that I need to do that, but I've still got these issues stalling me. Then you might need to take each sub-step that you just established in step 2 and break it down even further. So let's say, for example, the step identifying the mindset blocks that are stopping them from decluttering. You could break it down step by step. How do you notice when a mindset block is coming? How do you identify the mindset block? How do you then make a plan for dealing with each mindset block? Here are some specific, actually that's more of a later step, but breaking down how to identify and manage mindset blocks could be the The third step is, first you've got this list of things. One of the items is declutter. Second list, then you break it down, and one of those items is identify the mental roadblocks. And then step 3 in this process would be break down to people how to deal with identifying the mental roadblocks. So are you following along easily enough so far? Any questions so far?
No, but I'm like, you have my wheels spinning. I'm going, the thing is too, is that you've got different types of people, because you've got people who are very sentimental, and then you got to watch the words that you use with them so you don't trigger them.
Oh yeah.
So the way it's being talked right now, it's a psychological thing. I'm not a psychiatrist, so I don't know how good I would be at doing that. I mean, even like all the videos that I've watched on decluttering and organizing, it's hard to get to somebody's head and to psychoanalyze them and what their issue is. Well, even doing that, okay, I could do that, but can I solve that problem for that in particular individual?
Well, in their case, in the case of somebody really sentimental, maybe the solution for them would be to have one specific shelf where they keep their most precious memorabilia. And then, it's still there, but at least it isn't scattered all over the place, cluttering.
Well, that was my box.
Okay.
And then I opened it and I went, oh my gosh, did I really keep all this stuff? So that's what I had done when we moved. I took a box and I put things in it that were sentimental and I wanted to keep. But now at this point in time in my life, my kids are grown. They no longer mean the same thing that they did to me at the time when I packed that box.
Yeah, I think this might be, an opportunity where you could ask your clients about, let's say you're a sentimental packer, or maybe even do a poll. Are there any sentimental? I don't know if sentimental hoarders is the right word, but anybody here who keeps items for sentimental reasons and then wonders why you keep them, or anyone who's worried they're keeping things too long for sentimental reasons, and explore what kind of solutions they've had or what kind of challenges they've had. Maybe you could even, once you've figured it out, once you've got a better grasp on their psychology, maybe even do kind of a special mini course, how to declutter if you're a sentimental person, or, how to deal with clutter that has sentimental value.
Well, I actually did watch a video on that, and they would realize that cup that your grandmother gave you, she's not the cup. You have your memories of her, so it's all right to get rid of the cup. Although my neighbor is dealing with that right now. Her husband recently lost his mom, and he's got a bunch of stuff that he's taken into the house. But I told her, I said, considering that it's so new, I don't think you got to push the fact of, be like, look, you got to get rid of some of the stuff, because it's just been too recent, for that loss. So waiting some. I think it's fine when you have a loss of a loved one to go ahead and hold on to their things for a certain amount of time, but then there comes a point where you've got to let them go. I did that with my mom. I had taken stuff from her, and then gradually as time went on, it was like, I don't need this anymore. I don't need to feel close to her. That's a mourning process.
Yeah, it's understandable. So we better, we've got a few more steps to take care of. So for people who are struggling with different, some of these aspects, people I should say, with participants in your class who are struggling with some of these aspects, you can make it a lot easier to implement your process by giving them the 4 elements that make things easier to implement. So once you've created your list, broken it into sub-steps, broken those sub-steps down where needed, now it's time to make it really actionable. So element 1 is motivation. What is the sub-step and why do they need it? We need to motivate them to learn and apply it. It also gives them, telling them what it is and why they need it, also gives them context so they can better understand, why am I doing this? Focus on the results that they're going to get from this. Now, if a step is really self-explanatory, then you might be able to skip this. But if the clients might say, oh, that step sounds like too much work, I'm not sure it's necessary, I think I might already know how to do this, I don't understand why I need to do it, or I don't understand why I need to do it like this, then it's important to let them know, here's what it is and here's why it's important. So they're motivated to actually pay attention and implement this step. Element 2 is understanding when and how to use it. So if this isn't already made clear in the previous information you've given them about the sub-step, I definitely recommend helping them to understand, when in the process or under what circumstances would they use this, and precisely how would they do it. So, what situations would they use it in? What are the principles behind it, or the reasons why this step works the way it does? When people have that context for why they're doing something, they're more motivated to do it, and they're better able to customize it to their specific situation. Because let's face it, life's messy and complicated. Sometimes things won't play out precisely the way we expect. So when situations are unusual or unique, people need to understand how to customize your advice to their unique situation. So another thing you need to answer in this step, in this element, is what are some of the pitfalls people need to avoid while using this sub-step, or mistakes that people frequently make while making it? What are the best practices to keep in mind while implementing it? And what are some examples of people using it? This might be where you could help people to understand how better to declutter by giving examples of people running into some of their mindset issues or logistical issues while unpacking their boxes, and examples of how those people overcame it. This is especially helpful because the human brain works on stories. So when we have stories, it helps us better to understand the instructions and just to process them in a way that our brains are naturally designed to process. So element 3 is a specific exercise. Don't just tell people what to do, tell them exactly how to do it, step by step. Imagine if they were an alien who'd never even heard of your topic before. How would you explain it to this person who's completely new to this topic? Now, I'm not saying to patronize them or to act like they're stupid, but you have that level of thoroughness that doesn't make any assumptions that they already know part of your process, because there's a very real possibility that they don't. This is an area where having scripts, or recipes, or templates can help. If you are a health coach, you might give healthy recipes. If you're a marketing coach, you could give templates of good emails or sales pages. That's element 3, is having a specific exercise to help them actually implement it. And element 4 is integrating earlier lessons. So, if people only hear something once, they might just forget about it and not think of how to implement it. They might just get to lesson 5 and have no idea what you talked about in lesson 1 unless they want to take extra time to look back on it. So anytime an earlier lesson ties into the current lesson, briefly revisit or recap it. For example, let's say you're a marketing coach who taught people how to explain things in a results-oriented way that gets people excited about the outcomes, and now you're talking about how to create an email. Got to revisit that earlier topic. Here's how to take what you've learned about speaking in a results-oriented manner and apply it to this email. So as you go through this exercise, I hope you notice what might be going on inside of you, because one thing I found when doing this exercise and breaking it down into these steps, adding these elements, I was actually surprised to realize just how much I knew, especially when I was early on in my business and hadn't really established myself or gotten any testimonials or anything. Just breaking down the topics I knew, what I knew about each topic, and then choosing a topic, breaking it down into the steps, then the sub-steps, then breaking down those sub-steps into why people need them, how exactly to do them, the exercises, the best practices, etc. I realized that I actually knew a lot more than I'd originally given myself credit for. So this is, I found, a great way to beat imposter syndrome, because instead of it also helps you stop taking your own knowledge for granted, because when you've been trained in something and when you've lived it for a long time, it's so easy to assume that everyone knows what you know. They probably don't. So by going through this exercise, you can really get a clear idea, not just of how much of an expert you are, but of how much you have to offer, even just the one specific topic. So now that you've got all the information you need to create the outline of your course, to break it down into really actionable steps, and to give your clients the elements that they need to actually implement this, it's time for your next steps. Step 1 is to calendar time for these steps. Outlining your program should hopefully take less than an hour. It's following the formula that I just gave you, the steps, the sub-steps, and then breaking it down and adding the elements should hopefully take less than an hour. Then you need to flesh out lesson 1. we've started out with a kind of a skeleton of the course with a list of all the things that we need to learn in lesson 1. And you flesh it out with any additional information that you need to add in. And make sure you include the 4 elements. Then flesh out lesson 2 and so on. I suggest making each of those items a separate item in your calendar. That way it isn't this huge, scary, amorphous blob of do all this, make a whole coaching program. I've tried having something that big in my calendar, scared myself out of working on it. I get to that time and I start procrastinating by doing other tasks. So just break it down into manageable steps. And if the steps I just listed are too big, break it down even further. Just break it down as small as it needs to be. So once the program's outlined, you need to decide how to deliver it. Fastest way to do that is to deliver it live with few or no slides. You can start doing that pretty much as soon as you finish fleshing out the lessons. Turn them into bullet points so you know what to talk about during the live calls, then just deliver it talking head style like I'm doing right now. So that's how you could just start delivering your program. My original guarantee is within 1 month or less, but you could actually do this within a week or less. You could also add slides to help visual learners understand your lessons, but that does take more time. So if you want to get launched as fast as possible, that talking head version is kind of you've probably heard of the minimum viable product, the MVP. This is your MVP, creating this outline and then just delivering it talking head style. And you can always flesh it out, add to it, improve upon it from there. So we just covered how to create the outline of your program, how to add an option for delivering it, we've covered an option for delivering it, and how to use that option to deliver it in less than 1 month. But outlining a program is only one step of the process. If you need any help to choose the topic, to pick the best delivery method, whether it's group coaching calls or pre-recorded materials or some combination of both, use bonuses to maximize value in sales, manage group calls, use the technology you need to deliver it, describe your program in a way that makes it irresistible, choose a price that makes it a great deal for your clients and for you, add an upsell. If you need help with any of that, I'll be happy to help you. And I'll also help you to stay in action because the easiest promises to break are the ones we make to ourselves. I know from personal experience, I've spent years having an absolutely horrible sleep schedule. I'm talking embarrassingly bad, like getting to bed at 6 or 7 in the morning. And no matter how much that messed with me, no matter how many days I spent having 5 hours of sleep, I could not seem to change this for myself. Until one of my siblings got pissed off at me because I was apparently keeping them up, even though I thought I was being quiet. I didn't manage to change my sleep schedule for myself, but after that, I changed it for them within less than a week. So having somebody to hold you accountable is really helpful to actually staying in action and getting your program created. And that's part of what I want to offer you now is to help with getting through every single step of your program creation process and keeping that accountability so that you actually stay in action. So I just put a link in the chat. Joyce, I just lost your video. Hopefully nothing's going wrong there, but I just put a link in the chat. So if anybody wants to check it out, it's right there. So let's look at what's available right now if you would decide to sign up for this. In this program, you will get weekly 1-hour coaching calls with me for 3 months. Now, I know I said you can build this in 1 month or less, but I want to make sure that, if you can't prioritize it that much, if you've got other stuff that's going on in your life, I want to make sure that you have all the support you need to get through this whole process. So I support people for 3 full months. And you also get my 1-month program builder ebook and coaching program template, so you can have step-by-step instructions and a fill-in-the-blanks template to make it really easy to design your program. You'll also get my How to Make Your Courses More Valuable by Adding Bonuses mini course, which helps you to do just that, to add bonuses that make your course even more irresistible. That's a $400 value. And you'll get all of that, which is over a $2,800 value for only $1,500. And this price will be going up. This is a fast action price that's only going to be available for this next week. After that, it's going up to $2,000. If you want to get all of that $2,800 value for effectively a $1,300 discount, now's the time to sign up. So if you know that this is right for you, that link is in the chat. You can feel free to click that link to join. Or if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. And I want to make sure that you can make this decision with clarity and confidence. If you still have any questions, I'll be happy to get on a call with you. If you have other decision makers who needs to be involved in this decision, who might need more info, I'd love to talk with them too. Let's make sure that we get all the decision makers on a call so I can answer all your questions. So on that, I'll give you the link to my calendar in the chat. And there we go. So now you know how to outline your coaching program in an hour or less, how to get it launched in a month or less, and how to get further help if you need additional support. So now we're pretty much to the end of the time that we had set aside. So I want to, just give you a bit of extra time if you want, if you have any questions that you want me to cover.
When you were talking about outlining the steps, you were doing 5. Is that necessary? Does there have to be 5?
It doesn't have to necessarily be 5. It can be however many steps that you have in your program. It could be 3, it could be
Okay.
12, whatever number it is. Yeah, I was just using 5 as an example.
Okay. All right, because I was thinking, oh, wait, we need 5. I don't know if I could come up with 5.
Well, it depends on how many steps there are. It sounds like you put everything under the umbrella of declutter your house, but if you want to make it easier for people, decluttering can be overwhelming. So maybe step 1 could be, identify which part of, or list the rooms that you want to declutter. Step 2 could be choose which room you want to start with. Step 3 could be, choose which item you want to start decluttering. Or maybe one of the steps could be, make a list of the houses or make a list of the rooms so you can check off each room as you complete them. So whatever, just kind of mentally walk yourself through as if you were one of your clients going through your process.
See, and that's the hard thing because I'm a very organized person. I mean, we all have clutter. Clutter is inevitable. And a lot of times when people think of clutter, they think of stuff all over the house, like on my counter back here. I've got stuff there, but that's because I'm getting ready to organize it. But I did a video for the 30-day decluttering challenge today, which was on the bathroom closet, and my bathroom closet is organized, but I have stuff in there that I no longer use. I had empty bottles, stuff that I didn't know I had, so it's, especially closets are like the worst place for clutter to accumulate. Again, clutter doesn't have to be having stuff all over your house. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I had some background noise. Maybe you could have different mini courses for different people who have different types of clutter.
That's
So
an
maybe
idea.
maybe one for people who need to declutter their house, maybe one for people who needs to declutter their mind, their barn, their whatever.
Right.
And I think that might even be more valuable for people because, for an example from my own life, when I was trying to learn to market my fiction books, I bought a course that was supposed to teach me to market fiction and nonfiction. Well, the vast majority of that course was spent on nonfiction, and this was before I started writing nonfiction stuff. So I didn't feel like I got more value. I felt like I got ripped off spending all this money on something that
Right.
didn't apply. So
Right.
the more targeted it is to exactly what they need, the more they'll feel like they got their full money's worth, and the more they'll, feel the time was well spent because they'll only be consuming content that's highly relevant.
That's a good idea. I didn't think about that.
I'm glad I was able to help.
You have a lot of good ideas.
Thank
So
you.
you need to sign up for Stephanie's course because she's wonderful. She's an amazing
thank you,
person.
Joyce.
You are.
Well, thank you so much.
And she's totally a helper. She wants to help people.
Very much so. Like I said earlier,
just like you knew that I was creating a deck of cards, and out of the blue, you sent me an email saying, hey, look at this person. This is what they do. And I know this is what you're doing. And you didn't have to do that, but you did.
Like I said earlier, I've been through coaching courses before. I know what great benefit people can get from them. I want as many people as possible to get that benefit. And I want coaches like you who are doing your best to help people to be able to help as many people as possible and have the best life possible.
Exactly.
Well, thank you very much for being here, for your questions, for your participation. Are there any other questions that you want me to answer? Any other stumbling blocks you've been running into with creating these courses?
I really have not been working on the courses, to tell you the truth. I've been doing a 30-day decluttering challenge, and I'm surprised how much time it takes up to do the video, to edit the video, to get it up to where it needs to be. It's just like, and then to send it out to the email list. It's just, and I'm not writing new emails. It's like I have one and I'm just changing the date, like day 10, day 11. Look at day 10 video.
Mm.
So it's just very generic, but yet it takes some time, and I'm surprised at how much time it actually takes.
Now, I wonder if that might be another area where you need to kind of itemize things. Yeah, I found that you schedule the time you need for one aspect of the task, and then you realize, oh crap, I need to do this, and this to complete this. So I wonder if maybe you need to kind of write out each step that goes into it and schedule separate time for each of those, just so it's it's right there in black and white. You've got the time set aside for it. It all feels more manageable. Do you think that would help you?
But life happens. We have this thing called life, and it throws these obstacles in our way.
Yeah, but at least when you've got each thing in its own calendar slot, when life does happen, okay, I need to do this, and this. I'll just move that calendar item. I had this scheduled for 5 o'clock to 5:20. I'll just move it to say 6 o'clock to 6:20, and then get this thing done.
Yeah, and this video's getting up really late because I was, when I first started doing the challenge, I was getting the videos up like by 11 a.m. And then gradually things started happening, and they got later and later. And I try to make 2 videos a day so that I already have one, so that tomorrow morning I can go ahead, I can put it up. Well, I don't, so I'll need to make a video tomorrow to put up for tomorrow. I'm kind of wishing I would have did it just a 5-day challenge, because I'm also noticing that people are like losing interest.
Oh dear. Well, at least with these things, you can, pick out the gold and then refine it for later. Kind of like I'm gonna have to with this masterclass where it got off to kind of a rocky start because because I had that glitch. So sometimes we just have to do the best we can, realize what went wrong, and then try again next time.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and do you have anything to schedule your emails with?
No, I'm using MailChimp. And I'm on free, so I don't think I can schedule it being on free. But the thing is, too, is if I don't have the video up and they open it early, they're not going to get the video because I put the link to the video in there.
Oh, yeah, that would be a challenge. So, yeah, it's something I could, maybe we ought to have a chat sometime later about how I might be able to help you organize this a bit better. And that's, one thing I help my clients with is figuring out how best to deliver their materials, whether it's pre-recorded or live. I know we're starting to get off on a little bit of a tangent for over the time that we had allotted. So, I want to respect your time and not take up too much right now. So, yeah, I'd love to connect with you in DMs later. We can discuss further how we might be able to help with this. And in the meantime, thank you to everybody who tuned in for the replay. I hope to talk to you soon. And hope everybody here has an awesome day.